want to start with Chuck Todd. He gave an intro that pretty much made you believe that he really finally saw things the way they were. But he missed something very important. Let's listen to it and then we'll take it on the other side.
We are in the midst of what is a catastrophic failure of leadership in this country. There's no other way to say it. We're running out of adjectives to describe it. In the past 24 hours, the twin crises we opened the show with yesterday, the historic threat to our public health and the historic threat to our own democracy, have sadly both gotten worse in the last 24 hours, and it's because of a failure of leadership, massively so, that begins with the person who calls himself president, and that's Donald John Trump. More than 293,000 Americans have died since February, more than 14,000 of them in the last week alone, and this president continues to show no leadership to try to stop the spread, and no empathy for those who have died. Congressional leaders are deadlocked right now, unable to come to an agreement that everybody on Capitol Hill says they want on economic relief for Americans hurting because of the coronavirus. And of course, President Trump, who could show leadership here, has barely participated in these congressional talks, if you count people talking on his behalf as participating. He himself, he's not participated at all. But the one place the president is placing his energy is in trying to destroy the American democracy and overturn this election, where he's effectively split the Republican Party in half over whether to accept a legitimate result in this 2020 election. And in the midst of these emergencies gripping the country right now, the lone bright spot is coming not from the White House, not from feckless Capitol Hill, but from the private sector. With Pfizer's vaccine, which, as we just mentioned, the FDA could approve as early as today, paving the way for the first doses to be administered by early next week. But even with Pfizer's vaccine approval expected, the head of the CDC is warning that death tolls, like we've seen the past 2 days, would be the new normal for the next 2 months.
Probably for the next 60 to 90 days, we're going to have more deaths per day than we had in 9/11 or we had in Pearl Harbor. And the reality is the vaccine approval this week's not going to really impact, I think, to any degree for the next 60 days.
Yesterday alone, 3,110 Americans died from COVID. That's more than on 9/11 or in the Pearl Harbor attack. It was the second consecutive day that deaths topped 3,000. This means that 2 days this week, Wednesday and Thursday, are now among the 5 deadliest events on record in this country's history. No matter how you calculate it, the death toll is staggering and increasing, and the leadership crisis in this country is sadly catastrophic.
What Chuck Todd had to say was very important, but he missed something that is very important. Yes, Donald Trump has already checked out. All Donald Trump wants to do right now is create mischief. And when he creates this mischief, what he wants to do then is to go ahead and he doesn't care. The way he feels is they voted me out of office, screw them. That is what's on his mind right now. That is what he thinks. But the person that we have to hold accountable now, the person that should be held accountable now is Mitch McConnell, because he is holding everything up. Republicans and Democrats alike understand that Americans need help. They need a stimulus. They need a survival check, because the economy in a system like this fails when there are pandemics, right? So what we need are placeholders to make Americans whole until we have mitigated this particular pandemic. And there are ways, financial to do it, fiscally to do it. The only reason we don't do it is because we are trying every single time, the people who run the country every single time, meaning McConnell, is to somehow make a profit for the plutocracy out of every particular event, whereas they would not be able to before. So Chuck Todd was right. Donald Trump's leadership is miserable. Donald Trump is a catastrophic leader. Chuck Todd is correct. But likewise, Mitch McConnell is not only catastrophic, but evil, because he can see people suffering and not do anything about it. He knows Americans are in pain. Americans are suffering. And he does absolutely nothing about it. So we need to put blame where blame belongs. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.